Hey everybody, welcome back to Generation X Nation. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to the channel, who watched the video, who left a comment. Please keep subscribing. Keep leaving comments. I definitely appreciate it. All right. And thank you to all of my new subscribers. I definitely appreciate it. We're gonna talk about Bell Collective real quick, the reunion. It was a one-part reunion. I think it should have been two. I feel personally that there was a lot of stuff edited out of this particular reunion. So let's get started. Before we go, you always know everything on my channel is alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. I do my commentary week to week based on the episode that airs, with the understanding that scenes are edited out that we never see. So let's get started on this reunion. I feel like it was very condensed. I feel like a lot of stuff was left out. I feel like the reunion was about Tiffany and Stormy and who was on each side. I personally think Stormy and Tiffany are the same person. I've been writing for Stormy since episode one. I've been riding for the reinvention of Stormy. I've been riding for Stormy to be successful in this new series because I love seeing her on television, considering how it ended on her last show that she was on. For some reason, Tiffany don't want Stormy to be successful. I feel like, again, Tiffany do not like Stormy in her space. Because apparently Birmingham is Tiffany's safe space and Huntsville is Stormy's safe space. And I believe just a little bit of Tiffany is somewhat envious of Stormy and don't want Stormy to be successful in Birmingham because I think Tiffany feels like Birmingham is my city and you're driving across town to come over here and be the queen of my town. Hell, I hang out with the mayor's wife. How are you coming over here trying to outdo us? All right, that's just my thought on it. So let's get started. They get out to the stage. Everybody comes out looking good. Stormy even brought that dog, that three-legged dog out there. However, Stormy, absolutely gorgeous. 10 for 10 as far as I'm concerned. Her outfit, her hair, the makeup, Stormy looks good. The other ladies, they're okay. I think Fumi and Kayla probably look, those two are probably the next two to me. Um, and then of course Amber, and then I don't know, I didn't quite like Tiffany's dress. I mean, I liked it. It looked good on her, but I don't know, that whole neck and the puffy sleeves just was a bit too much for me. But and I don't mean neck, you know what I'm saying, the collar and the puffy sleeves. But for the most part, this is their first reunion. They'll get it together eventually. I think they'll figure out when you come to that reunion, you got to come to that reunion. You got to come out there like Stormy, looking like a goddess, or don't come at all. So Stormy showed up, set the standards, and I think if they have a season two and another reunion, they'll probably come out looking just as good or better than Stormy did on this particular episode, which is going to be hard to do. Now, let's get started. Out the gate, Tiffany. Carlos asked Fumi about fashion and somebody making a comment about influencers all dressing alike. Fumi said, hey, in Birmingham, we like color, we like prints. And then for some reason, people think we all dress alike. And then Carlos lit the first match. Oh, are you talking about a comment that Tiffany made? And then Tiffany said, Fumi said, yeah, she said, well, that was very direct. And of course, Tiffany, I am direct. One thing about me, you're going to know one thing about me as a Belle. I am direct and I say exactly what's on my mind. I will speak my whatever. Tiffany, this is why they don't like you, Tiffany. I mean, at the end of the day, why didn't you just sit there and let that comment roll and say, hey, I didn't really mean it like that? But instead, you got to come out and be that condescending tone when all Fumi was doing was trying to describe some fashion. But true to fashion, Tiffany had to say what Tiffany wants to say. So then Carlos started talking about Stormy's live, okay? And then Tiffany got to chime in on that. Once again, why did you even say anything, Tiffany? So she was assuming that Stormy was using them for free labor. That's what she said in the comments. I mean, in the flashback when they were at the exercise room. Stormy is like this. Everybody else said, "Hey, I thought it was great marketing strategy." So Stormy's sitting there, she's not saying nothing at all. They're going back and forth. So the ladies was like, hey, we was only on camera for 5 minutes or so. It wasn't that deep. That's what Kayla said. It wasn't that deep. And then Amber came in and said, hey, Carlos said, well, you the CFO, so what do you think? She said, hey, if you're on there, yes, I would use them for marketing strategy. If we're friends and I'm on the TikTok live and that's my friend, I don't expect to be paid. But if I'm on somebody else's like Kayla and we're not that close, then maybe she would expect me to pay her. I get all of that. You were launching a new show called Bell Collective. Stormy brings all of y'all to the live. Yes, it would make sense for her to put y'all on camera. You're trying to launch your new show. You're trying to make sure that we know who y'all are, get your faces out there. And then adding Martell to the clutch, even though a lot of y'all don't like Martell, it links Stormy up to Huntsville. And now we letting people know that Stormy now is going to be a lead on another show. What are you mad about, Tiffany? And Stormy said, hey, you just mad because you wasn't there. You wish you was there. That's why you had to take a day trip to Atlanta. Tiffany is like, no, I don't. No, I don't. Tiffany, this is why you're coming off so freaking condescending. And you're making people like Stormy because of the way you act. And Stormy used to have a following that wasn't the best. But the way you act toward her, people are like, you know what? I'm gonna have to ride with Stormy. Tiffany, my God, you call yourself a Christian, and the way you act is so freaking snobbish and uppity. It is just crazy to me. I don't even understand why you continue to chime in whenever somebody's mentioning Stormy name. It does seem like you're a little envious or jealous of Stormy. Just my opinion. So let's move on. Carlos asked Amber about her and the baby. Amber said everything is set. She just need a man. She's scared to allow a man into her life because she got stuff set up how she want. Carlos advised her if she want a man in her life, she got to make room for a man. And he is right, Amber. Just make room. It'll come. He asked Fumi about the house, asked her how much the house cost. Fumi said the house, that's I'm not going to tell you that, Carlos, but then she go on to say it's below 2, but over 1. Well, then you told us, Fumi. Even though you said you weren't going to tell us, you did tell us, okay? But Fumi let us know I don't pay no bills. My husband paid the bills because Carlos asked us how much was her mortgage. She said, I don't know. How much is this bill? I don't know. My husband just gives me allowance. I spend it in a week and then I go get the Amex card and charge it up. That is not a flex for me. That is not a flex. I know you're a big influencer, make a lot of money off of social media, but that's a occupation that, has its highs and its lows. Okay. Also, don't sit here and again, I don't know if you're doing this on purpose, but you're saying it like you basically submit to your husband, which is great. You don't know any of that. He takes care of all of that. Baby, you better learn how to do all that. And I just say that from the bottom of my heart. I don't mean anything by it, but if something should ever happen to that man, life happens. And you don't even know how to pay the electric bill. Girl, learn how to pay them doggone bills. You ain't got to pay them, but you at least need to know where he send the money to. That's all I'm saying. We gonna move on. Carlos asked Stormy about being the breadwinner. Stormy checked that real quick, like, you ain't finna put no cracks in this marriage here. I don't consider myself the breadwinner. Me and my baby is in this together. Me and Courtney in this marriage together. I watched him chase his dreams from college, trying to be a basketball player, playing overseas, and he helped me with my dream. He gave me the drive to chase mine. So don't come over here trying to mess up what we got. Courtney does what I need him to do when it comes to our child. He is there for me. I am not a breadwinner. She said, I cannot eat without this man. When I tell you one thing about Stormy and Courtney is they love each other down. Stormy loves her some Courtney, and Courtney loves him some Stormy. So don't try to find a crack in that marriage, Carlos. Leave that be. And that's one thing for the viewers we've all noticed about Stormy and Courtney. They have a solid marriage. That's all I'm gonna say. Kayla went on to talk about how she met a young man, well, not a young man, an older man, at the age of 17. And by 18, she was married, and 6 months later, she was pregnant. Kayla gave all her good 20s to this man, dropped off 4 kids in some of her 30s. Now she's no longer with him. Now she said, there would be days where I would sit and listen to conversations of him talking about things he did in his 20s, how much fun he had. And she like, I ain't get to do none of that. Yeah, because somewhere along the line, Kayla, somebody was telling you not to marry that man. He was too old for you. But you probably figured this was a way out because he probably presented himself as somebody who could take care of you and buy nice things for you. And it seemed to provided you with a nice life. But you didn't look at the other side where he's going to steal my youth. And now you have 4 kids. And that's not to say it's some curse or whatever, but it's hard to maintain 4 children, young children, school age children, and run your business and then try to have social life or romantic life after that. Okay. But what do you go do? Go out and get another guy 17 years older than you. I'm sorry. He seemed like a nice guy. I just don't see this guy settling down with you. So if you just out there for a good time, have fun. But I don't think he's going to be the one to settle down with you because let's keep it a buck. 4 kids is hard for a person to come into a relationship with and take in. That's all I'm saying. Tiffany and her husband are discussing having another baby. And for some reason, this man do not want to have another baby with Tiffany. Again, I have my suspicions about her husband. I'm gonna leave it at that. But Tiffany tried to make an excuse and say, "Oh well, when we got married, we never planned on having kids." There's no way you can convince me that you are a Christian woman and you wanted no kids. Because one thing Christians believe is being fruitful and multiplying. But if you're going to run with that story, we're going to go ahead and let that run, Tiffany. But I don't believe that for a second. Kayla and Amber get into it about when they originally met each other. Kayla lets everybody know that she had invited Amber to one of her events. She also said that me, you, and Stormy were in the bathroom and you were talking to me about your job. And then Amber said, "No, that wasn't me." She said, "Oh, well, okay. Well, here's another receipt. We were out 3 days ago and you were sitting there talking to me." And she said, "Well, I'm a woman of faith. I guess I have to be nice to you." Kayla, just stop. If they don't want to accept who you are, that's fine. But don't let them keep putting this narrative about you being dense and stuff because they keep saying, well, she didn't know what she was doing. I think Kayla was a little immature because Tiffany said, you sat down with us and had lunch and you was asking me about the whole mop incident and you knew what had happened. And Kayla is trying to explain to them, yes, I did, because they showed the flashbacks, of course. Carlos going to have his receipts. She said, I did hear about it. But what I was trying to do is get the two stories to align. Stormy told me one version. I really just want to hear your version. But Tiffany, of course, calling Kayla the minion. Now, Kayla put something in the comments about make sure y'all, my followers fight for me, when it comes to the ops. Stormy said sometimes she feel like Kayla has to over explain what she is doing. Tiffany once again continues to interject every time Stormy speaks. However, Carlos said, well, Stormy, you understand what that means because this happened to you. And Stormy did come in and say, yes, you have to be careful what you put in, what you put on social media because you can paint a narrative where people will start attacking Amber and different people based on your comments. They may not mean it read it the same way that you printed it, that you wrote it. Kayla's like, I didn't mean to physically do anything. I was just saying attack them in the comments or whatever. We understand once again Kayla's immaturity, but I don't think Kayla is dense. She runs a company, all right? Now, Amber asked for a direct response basically from Stormy. Stormy explained to her how she felt about Kayla's comments, and then she went on to say how the comments from social media affected her on the previous show, and it caused her to leave the show because things had gotten so bad. Tiffany kept saying, see, she never answered you directly. See, I'm your friend, Amber. I'm your friend. This your friend over here, and she is not answering the specific question. She's going around it. Tiffany continues to interject herself in something that has nothing to do with her. This is between Kayla, Amber, and Stormy. And there you go interjecting. And you wonder why Stormy don't like you. Tiffany, just shut up. Let Stormy finish doing her explaining, okay? Um, and then after that, they kept going back and forth. Basically, Carlos asked Amber, do you think Kayla is Stormy's minion? And Amber kind of said yes. I thought that was a shot in the gut to Stormy, but I mean, you're Stormy CFO. Why would you say that? I'm just saying. Anyway, Tiffany started arguing about back to the mob, the Civil Rights Museum, what Sonetta said. And again, once again, all they was trying to figure out is what did Sonetta tell you? Tiffany won't say what Sonetta said. Stormy's like, look, I came there. I apologize. You know, you pressed about mob. You pressed about my money. It seemed like you're jealous of me because you can't be me. And she called her the HOE. And I said, okay, now you done got everything out. Because Stormy about to become Hurricane Stormy once again. Fumi kind of interjected. She said the lady apologized. She said, but sometimes it's just your tone. And everybody has been telling you this, Tiffany. It's your tone. The way you talk to people is offsetting. I don't blame them. I probably would have got in your behind too, because you are really, really very, again, I can't oversay the word, condescending, smart. You're just this the tone of how you answer people. I, I am the realist on this show. I said what I said. I am direct with everybody. Good Lord, Tiffany, can you just accept what these people are saying and then speak your part? You got to interject. It seems to me that you want Amber and Stormy to fall out. It seems to me you want everybody against Storm. It seems to me that everybody seems to be cool with Stormy but you. So maybe you are the problem. And I'm not saying Stormy is perfect. We know how Stormy roll. We know how she get down. But Tiffany, to me, you worse than Stormy some of the time because we expect you to hold yourself to a higher standard because you came in the gate on episode 1 letting us know you Christian values, you praying, you have Bible study, but this is what we get. So I'm confused. And I'm not saying you don't have feelings as a Christian. I'm not saying you have to keep your mouth shut and don't speak your mind. It's just the way it comes off. Maybe soften the tone a little bit. I don't know. It's just rough to me. And I know Stormy is rough, but good Lord, Stormy never uh, presented herself as just knockdown, drag out Christian like you do. I'm just saying. Anyway, moving on because there wasn't much left after this. Stormy kind of breaks down a little bit and she said, I understand how it's easy for people to put me in a box. They have done this before. I have lost everything and I had to build it back up. This was very emotional for Stormy. So I understand how it goes. I'm tired of people treating me this way. I'm trying to be a better person and all of that. She went into that big old thing and I can see and felt the passion what Stormy was saying. But at the same time, I don't give Stormy no grace. Now, Stormy be throwing a little shade here and there. You know, I seen who she um if you piss her off, we seen how she pops off. We seen her call Tiffany out her name. We seen her disrespect Tiffany. But I'm not saying it was warranted, but I'm saying Tiffany also pushes her there. Tiffany takes Stormy through there sometimes. She pushes her and pushes. She pushes that button. And if you know Stormy, know her history, you don't want to push that button. I'm not saying walk around on eggshells, but you know Stormy will go there. And I think Tiffany does that to bring out the worst in Stormy. Instead of just saying, you know what, I ain't going to push her there. I don't want her arguing. I don't want to fight with her. But Stormy said, you can't be me whole. That was it for me. That was it for me. Stormy is accused of leading with money. Tiffany keeps saying all you do is lead with money. But they showed a flashback of Tiffany and her best friend Kendra talking about Stormy's money. Stormy ain't never led with money. I don't know where she get that from. Stormy, Tiffany is accusing her of the show being sent, the show, I guess, being centered around her and her money. And the lady said, yes, it's centered around Stormy. She is the lead because nobody know us, but we all know Stormy. Tiffany, I keep telling y'all, she is very jealous of Stormy. Stormy started to say something, and then Tiffany said, be quiet, held her hand up. Again, you can't talk to a grown woman like that, Tiffany. You tell me, be quiet, hold your hand up. Now you have interjected this whole reunion. Nasty, condescending, nasty tone, very rude to Stormy. And I can say for the most part, Stormy has held it down and tried her best not to go off, but you keep taking her there. So I left that alone. Fumi does act a little different around Stormy. I'm not going to lie. I think Stormy said they developed a good friendship. Stormy has told everybody, hey, I've gotten to know Kayla deeper. I've gotten to know Fumi deeper. And I also got to have some time with Amber, but I missed my friend. She said, I missed the fact that I didn't go through the IVF with you. It was done on film. We didn't talk off camera, had, even if it had nothing to do with the show, we just didn't have our conversations. So Amber, you got to be a little bit more open when it comes to Stormy as far as the friendship. Don't let Tiffany drive you down that road. I know you and Tiffany are friends, you and Stormy is friends, but you are her CFO. And if you pull back on the friendship and don't want to talk about things because of the show, then that's not being a true friend. Okay. Um, then they talked about the Last Supper. Of course, Tiffany said she felt it was blasphemy. She felt Fumi was fake because Fumi didn't like it. But Fumi said, "Hey, I talked to Stormy about it, and I told her what I didn't like." Of course, they showed all the flashbacks of the confessionals when Fumi was saying she don't do that. Her father's a pastor and everything. So Tiffany tried to one up her on that. They showed the receipts, but Fumi said, "No, I had a conversation with Stormy." She said, "Oh, because you said you had a pedicure, you weren't getting your feet done." Let me just say this. I think, and then Stormy did come forth and say, "Hey, after watching it and everything going on, I understood how people who are diehard Christians could have took it the wrong way. But I was doing this in the act of service because Tiffany kept talking about service, and this is the most powerful service that you could do for somebody because Jesus washed his disciples' feet." So I get where she was going. I also understand how Christians could find it to be very disrespectful, but at the same time, I think Tiffany took it just a little too far because that's who Tiffany is. Now, I say this, Stormy and Tiffany are the same people. Stormy doesn't like Tiffany. Tiffany doesn't like Stormy. They're both pushing for the crown, but I think Stormy doesn't have to do it because it's coming to her effortlessly. Tiffany is pushing so hard because she feel like she's losing her place and her footing with the girls in the group. And she doesn't feel like an outsider should be coming down there and being the number one stunner. That's all I'm saying. Now, at the end of the day, you have Stormy who says she's been knowing Kayla for 6 years. They've been very good friends. She's having a new friendship with Fumi. Amber's her CEO. Sonetta didn't even show up on the reunion. She should have been there because she was part of this whole mop gate thing where she went back and said something to Tiffany and went back and said something to Kayla, whoever, Stormy. She should have been there. I don't know why she wasn't there. Maybe there was some obligation she could meet, she had to meet, or maybe she just couldn't make it there, or they didn't invite her. I don't know. But I felt like Sonetta should have at least showed an appearance to go over the whole mop gate scandal. Now, with that being said, Tiffany feels out by herself because Amber is connected to Stormy as her CFO. Kata's connected to Stormy as her friend for over 6 years. And Fumi is budding a relationship with Stormy because Fumi likes Stormy. And Fumi and Tiffany have not gotten along very well. Since the first time she met Tiffany, she didn't care for Tiffany too much. Tiffany, you have to take a look at yourself. If all of these ladies are fighting through whatever their little differences are, and they can all come in line together and you still sitting out here on this island by yourself, you might want to take a look in the mirror and get some self-reflection going. Because apparently self-awareness is not your strong point. Now we know Amber and Kayla have a little back and forth going on, but I think they're going to fix that for the sake of their friendship with Stormy because they both are in Stormy's life. What I didn't understand is how Amber and Kayla act like they were just meeting each other, but Stormy been knowing Kayla for 6 years, and Amber is Stormy's CFO. Y'all had to run across each other's path. And that's what Kayla was saying. Bull crap. I invited you to this. I've had you over here. I've seen you over here. And apparently Amber was just mad because maybe Kayla didn't remember her. But y'all call her goofy or clueless sometimes. So why would you expect her to remember you? I think Kayla is immature in a way, not carrying friendships with women, but I think she's highly intelligent when it comes to running her business because she was able to get this business off the ground while having 4 children and being married to that older guy who was trying to just make her a housewife and a mom. So kudos to Kayla for that. I just think when it comes to the dynamics of a friendship or a girl group, she has a lot of growing and maturing to do there. So I don't think she meant anything about the ops comment or anything like that. I don't think she's on social media maybe as much as the other girls. And I think it just was a misunderstanding. And hopefully, as the series go on, Kayla will mature. Fumi, I hope you get the house you want, but please don't Find out where your finances are, Fumi. Don't just be blind to that. And if you're pretending, then I'll leave it alone. But if you're not pretending, go find out where your finances at. You cannot sit here and depend on influencers' monies forever. We see influencers go broke the next day. One month they good, the next month they go broke. I get it. There's a lot of money influencing, but it's also sometimes it doesn't always pay the bills, depending on what season it is. If people get tired of watching you, they just get tired of watching you. That is what it is. Amber, I know it's a struggle. You know, hopefully you'll find the man of your dreams and have the baby of your dreams, have the home of your dreams, and have the life of your dreams. I hope that for you. But please do not get in the middle of your best friend Tiffany and your best friend slash boss Stormy. Because at the end of the day, Stormy does pay your bills and she is your she is one of your close friends. Now, don't let that cost you everything you work for. Tiffany, you got to stop being selfish and learn how to share your best friend and learn how to share your space because you and Stormy are two of the same people. And for some reason, you don't see that. Stormy is well aware of who you are and how you work, how you operate. And one thing about Stormy, she going to be honest with you. I don't think Stormy doesn't have an issue with Tiffany to the point where she can't get along with Tiffany. I think Tiffany keeps throwing up a wall where she won't find peace with Stormy and she wants stuff to ride. All you have to do, and I'm not saying kiss Stormy ass, but just apologize when she asks you about the mop. Sit down and have a grown person conversation. I seen Stormy make up with Destiny and they was about to go for blows and then bring her a whole Gucci bag and say, are we all Gucci? That's all I'm saying. Other than that, it was a quick reunion, one part. I think there's definitely going to be a season two. Next time, bring Sonetta on. I'm sure they're going to have a couple more friends to the show. Tiffany, you got to calm down, baby. Uh, Trust me. After season, if you the next season, we need to see a different Tiffany, for real. Because if you want to pick a villain of the show, it wasn't Stormy. And Stormy didn't had her share of being a villain, of being disrespected, of people not liking her and doing little shady stuff. And I seen some shady stuff she done on this show, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. But Tiffany, you gonna have to know how this reality world work, and you got to stop with the foolishness. Okay, so hopefully y'all filming soon for next season and you come out a better person. Because don't come out telling us you a Christian and I didn't see. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not even gonna judge you because we're not supposed to. With that being said, this is Gen X Nation, and as always, you gotta go have a great rest of your day and be safe out there. Peace, and I'm out.